Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail, released on the 7th of April 2021, over a year ago now. However, this game was released to kind of under the radar success. People mostly enjoyed it, and while recently the reviews have kind of dropped due to a lack of developer communication and updates, I think now is a great time, 1 year later, to come back and really ask, is this the game that people were looking for? Could this really rival a behemoth like Napoleon Total War? This is Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail. The Ultimate Admiral series has been around for quite some time, with Ultimate General Civil War all the way back in 2017, and then of course Ultimate General Gettysburg even further in 2014. This series has been somewhat popular, but it has evolved massively throughout the years. Game Labs, the creators, are a relatively small company, but have made a name for themselves with this series, going through and advancing to other things like naval action, Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, and of course a completely new spin and new series, This Land Is My Land, a Wild West survival playing as the Native Americans, trying to take back the land that was so brutally robbed from you. However, Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail takes a tactical war game to a new era. Epic naval campaigns in the period of the American Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars. Muskets, cannons, cavalry, and of course, warships. It is so satisfying playing ship to land battles, docking your troops off into their lifeboats, landing on the shores, and taking certain bombardment points. On the surface, it looks like a smaller, more indie version of a Total War game. But what is really in the depths of Ultimate Admiral? Well, first of all, you're greeted by the beautiful main menu, and the music for this really sets the tone. Of course, Rule Britannia playing in the background, getting you in the mood to play as Horatio Nelson sailing the seas for his country. The tutorial gives you naval, landing, or just regular land battles to have a look at. Whether you want to learn how to use ships, whether you want to learn how to do the transition between ships and ground warfare, or just focus on the tactical Total War RTS style battles on the land. But first, let's hop into the naval tutorial. The ship combat is pretty good. It's probably the strongest point, I would say, of the game in general. The range of your cannons depends on how fast you're moving, and of course you can change this by raising or lowering sails. You can do basic things like switch ammo type from round shot to canister to chain shot if you want to take out sails. Zooming up, you can see men on the ships. It's very reminiscent to something like an Empire or Napoleon Total War, seeing the troops there doing their thing. And of course, when the ships get close to each other where cannons aren't really much used anymore, the guys with muskets on board start firing at the other ship. It's really cool. You have sail health, you have crew member health and morale, and of course you have the hull of the ship. If that goes, you start to sink and your guys will have to hop onto lifeboats or risk drowning. There's some small things to help you manage your ships, especially when the fleets get bigger and bigger, like being able to match the speed of the enemy ship. This is paramount to, of course, boarding other ships as well. Being able to manual aim to choose the right place that you really want to aim those cannons at, or just letting them do their thing. Boarding enemy ships is very satisfying. It's not that easy to do. You have to really get close, and especially if it's a stronger ship, you're going to take a lot of damage doing that. But if you can match the speed of the enemy ship, get close enough, you can then grapple hook them and bring them closer and closer to their doom. Of course, once the enemy ships go down, the honorable thing to do would be to let the lifeboats go, right? Or you can shoot them and commit many war crimes. When it comes to land battles, a few nice details are being able to zoom in and out with mouse wheel and hearing the fading of marching drums. When you zoom really close, you can hear all the foliage around, the birds in the trees, and of course the marching of the 5 players and the drummer boys. But if you zoom all the way out, the music starts playing. It's a really nice little touch to immerse yourself in either being the grand strategist over the top or getting in close and down with your men. Troops have ammo counts, so you need supplies following them around in case they start to run out. Musket battles look and feel amazing. They also sound great too. You're not able to get in quite as close and personal as a Napoleon or Empire Total War. However, I think with the direction that they're going, I think it's been executed pretty well. There are some issues with land battles, for example, being able to right click and drag. It always is a little bit fiddly, especially if you're used to Total War controls, because some of the controls are the same, others are a bit different and they've shifted them, which is fine, but there is a learning curve there, meaning that I was ending up with a lot of friendly fire situations, as the controls are just that little bit clunky, so trying to get people out the way in time sometimes isn't all that possible. But hey, they had to take one for the team eventually. So, what about the main game itself? Well, you can set up custom battles, you can do preset scenarios like Bunker Hill. It's really cool, really fun, especially if you want to recreate some of those things, or you can try one of the 3 campaigns. Now, these 3 campaigns are set for different levels of experience. Hopping into one of them, it almost opens up with a Mount and Blade style storytelling, where it will tell you where you're going and where you grew up, and you can choose certain paths that you took in order to determine some of the skills and attributes that you have in the campaign. As I said, much like a Mount and Blade kind of game. The first mission is a coastal assault, starting with a naval battle, trying to take out the enemy ship so you can get your troops onto the landing grounds. But in order to escort them safely, you need to take out some enemy heavy cannons. Once again, naval battles are pretty fun. They managed to take out one of mine, I managed to take out one of them. Then as I headed for their other ship, the ship I'd just taken out had their crew hop out, rowing their little boats over to my abandoned ship and hop in it. I had to destroy my own ship because of these guys. It was kind of funny and quite entertaining, and I love that you're able to do that within the game. Landings, though, are awesome. Being able to deploy boats, whether it's from transport ships or even your heavily armed galleons, are able to deploy their crew as well. You can position your ships just offshore to shoot the enemy emplacements or troops onto land. It's really cool being able to support your men there. That two-faceted warfare style I really love. Having naval and land warfare work in almost a beautiful symphony, bringing in many different tactics that you can use. Once hurting enemy troops enough, they will lose their morale and you can take them as prisoners. I then put them on rowboats and took them back to the ships for questioning later. Then once you've passed the first mission, you can really start to look at ship upgrades. It's a really big part of this, upgrading your crew, your ship to have better hulls, to be faster, to have more cannons or even better cannons, having more ships in your fleet to get more and more powerful. You take them around the campaign map to do certain missions that you're given. Of course, this adds a completely new dynamic element, as they don't just say, here are your troops, win this battle. You actually have to use your own men that you've worked and upgraded through previous battles and missions, meaning that you actually care about these guys and you don't want to lose them. You're much more tactical because of it, because you have to be able to repair these guys after, so don't just go charging them in. When you choose a scenario, you can choose to follow the orders and it will give you some tips on how to do it, or you can just wing it. I mean, you get more money and XP for it, but it's a lot more dangerous as well, as I found out. Overall, Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail is a good game. I don't think it's a great game or an amazing game, but I think it's a good game. It definitely nods to a game like Napoleon Total War or Empire Total War of that matter. Is it better than either of those games? No, I wouldn't say so. And I wouldn't expect it to be either. It's a much smaller title with a much smaller development team. The behemoths at Creative Assembly have more resources to be able to create much bigger scales and all the content and features of a Total War title. Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail doesn't have that. It has a lot of similarities. The land battles commanding troops is very similar. Naval battles is quite similar to an Empire Total War naval battle scenario. However, it's a lot less refined. Controls are way more clunky. There's a weird amount of balance between naval battles. Sometimes they'll be over in a few minutes. Sometimes you'll have to put the triple speed on and they'll still take 15-20 minutes, which can be kind of infuriating. The game looks good graphically. However, on general, it is much smaller scale. You'll see the units say they have 100, 120, sometimes even 200 men in a musket line. However, there's only about 30 or 40 men that are actually rendered. That's fine, but it doesn't quite give you the same large-scale battles as something that you'd expect from a Total War game. At the moment, it is £25 on Steam. It's definitely not cheap, but I would say it's probably worth that price. It has a good amount of content. However, judging by some of the reviews lately, people have been complaining that it doesn't quite have the developer support or long-term content that they would really like. I haven't run into any of those issues, but I would keep that in mind. Yet the Ultimate Admiral and Ultimate General series has always been one that I've had on my radar, but I've never really actually played properly. This is the first one that I've got into, and I'm sure, and judging by a lot of the reviews, some of the other ones are much more successful. So maybe we'll have to try them out in the future.